Welcome to the Mycitizenagency channel. Relocating to Europe often feels like a big step toward a new life. Stability, security, better education, career opportunities, and freedom of movement. But behind the pretty picture, there is always a lot of preparation. And it is precisely during the preparation stage that many people make mistakes, which later cost them time, money, stress, and sometimes even their right to legally reside in the country. Watch the video until the end. Some mistakes seem like minor details, but they are the ones that most often lead to rejections, delays, and unnecessary expenses. The first mistake is choosing a country to immigrate to based on the idea that it's beautiful there, I have a friend who lives there, people make good salaries there, or I saw a blogger who liked it. Yes, personal stories can be inspiring, but relocation is not a vacation. It's important to evaluate a country not based on emotions, but on specific criteria. What grounds for legal residency are available to you? What are the requirements for income, documents, profession, education, language, accommodation, and health insurance? One country might be perfect for a student but inconvenient for an entrepreneur. Another might be attractive for a family with children but difficult for someone planning to find a job quickly without knowing the language. Before choosing a country, you need to honestly answer the following questions. On what basis will I be able to stay there? Will I be able to renew my documents? Is there a clear path to long-term residency? Does the job market match my experience? Will I be able to cover my expenses for the first few months? Relocating does not start with a ticket, but with analysis. Many people think that if they decide to migrate today, they'll be settled in a new country within a month. In reality, the process can take much longer. You need to collect documents, translate them, obtain apostilles, certificates, and proof of income, arrange insurance, find accommodation, make an appointment at the consulate, or submit an application through an authorized authority. Sometimes waiting for a single certificate takes several weeks. Sometimes an appointment to submit your application isn't available right away. And sometimes, after submitting your application, you have to wait several months for a decision. The mistake is that people make plans without allowing for a time buffer. They quit their jobs, sell their property, buy tickets, pay for accommodation, and yet the documents aren't ready or the decision hasn't been received. It is wiser to start preparing in advance. Make a list of documents, check their expiration dates, clarify the requirements of the specific country, and don't leave everything to the last minute. In immigration matters, rushing almost always increases the risk of error. One of the most common reasons for rejection is an incomplete or improperly prepared package of documents. The list of required documents seems simple: passport, photo, application form, insurance, proof of income, and proof of accommodation. But every country has its own specific requirements. Some countries require a bank statement in a specific format. In others, it's important that the rent agreement be registered. In some places, insurance must cover a specific amount. In others, the translation must be done only by a certified translator. The problem is that people often rely on old lists from forums or on someone else's experience, but requirements change, and what worked for one person a year ago may not work for you today. Before applying, it's important to check the current rules, prepare documents tailored specifically to your situation, and make sure there are no contradictions in them. For example, if one address is listed on the application, another on the rent agreement, and a third on the income verification, this could raise questions. Documents shouldn't just exist, they should logically support your story. Relocating to Europe involves more than just a ticket and rent for the first month. Many people find that their actual expenses end up being higher than expected. In addition to rent, you need to factor in a security deposit, utility bills, insurance, document translation, fees, transportation, communication, food, everyday purchases, obtaining local documents, potential professional assistance, and a reserve fund for unforeseen circumstances. In many countries, when renting a place, you have to pay the first month's rent, a security deposit, and sometimes an agent's fee. This can amount to 2 or 3 months' rent up front. It's also worth keeping in mind that your income may be unstable at first. You won't find a job right away, a business won't launch in a week, and payments or your first earnings may be delayed. It's a mistake to go on a shoestring without a financial cushion. This creates stress and forces you to make rushed decisions. It's better to calculate a minimum budget for 3 to 6 months in advance. Even if you're confident in your plans, having a financial cushion gives you freedom, peace of mind, and the ability to handle issues without panicking. Some people focus solely on how to enter the country but don't think about what comes next. Entry is only the first step. It's much more important to understand how you'll legally stay in the country, renew your status, change your basis for stay, process documents for your family, work, study, or conduct business. For example, a person arrives on a short-term basis and then discovers that it is not possible to switch to the required type of permit while in the country, or it is possible, but only if certain conditions are met, conditions they were not aware of in advance. As a result, they have to leave urgently, reapply, or look for another option. To avoid this mistake, you need to understand the entire process before relocating. Entry, application, obtaining status, renewal, conditions for maintaining status, and future prospects. It's important not just to get into Europe, but to stay there legally and with confidence. Even if many people speak English in the country you've chosen, the local language is still very important. You'll need it to communicate with government authorities, doctors, landlords, schools, banks, employers, and neighbors. It's a mistake to think, I'll figure it out once I get there. There are usually plenty of tasks to handle once you're there. Finding accommodation, dealing with documents, adapting to your new life, finding work, children, and everyday matters. Learning a language in a stressful situation is more difficult. Even a basic level of proficiency before relocation will make life much easier. You'll be able to understand announcements, read letters, make appointments, explain simple situations, and feel more confident. For certain types of permits, language proficiency may be a requirement now or in the future. For example, when renewing a permit, applying for permanent residency, or seeking citizenship. You don't need to wait until you're fluent, but starting early is one of the best decisions you can make before relocating. Accommodation is one of the most challenging aspects of relocation. A common mistake many people make is renting the first place they come across simply because they need to provide an address right away. It's important to consider not only the price, but also the neighborhood, transportation options, the terms of the agreement, the possibility of registration, the rent period, utility bills, and the landlord's requirements. In some countries, a residential address is required for processing documents, but not every place is suitable for registration. Sometimes a person pays for an apartment and then finds out that they cannot use that address for official procedures. It's also worth reading the rental agreement carefully. You need to understand which payments are included, who pays for repairs, whether you can terminate the agreement early, how much the security deposit is, and under what conditions it is refunded. If you are relocating with your family, it is important to research the availability of schools, daycare centers, medical facilities, and public transportation in advance. Choosing the right housing is not just about comfort, it is also part of your everyday adaptation. Many people who relocate only think about visas or residence permits, but forget about taxes. Yet this is an important part of life in Europe. If you work, run a business, receive income from another country, rent out property, work remotely, or have savings, you need to understand what tax obligations may arise. It is a mistake to assume that if money is deposited into an account outside your country of residence, there will be no issues. In reality, tax residency depends not only on where the money is received, but also on the length of your stay, the center of your life's interests, family, housing, and other factors. It is also important to understand how to open a bank account, what documents are needed to verify the source of funds, which payments must be reported, and what reporting deadlines apply. Before relocating, it is advisable to consult not only on immigration matters, but also on tax implications. This will help you avoid fines, frozen accounts, and unpleasant surprises. The advice of friends, family, and acquaintances can be helpful, but it is no substitute for a personalized assessment. Everyone's situation is unique. Citizenship, family status, income, profession, education, travel history, reasons for relocation, and future plans. What worked for one person may not be suitable for another. For example, one person succeeded through education, another through employment, a third through business, and a fourth through family reunification. Even within the same country, requirements can vary depending on the basis for the application. It is a mistake to copy someone else's experience without verifying it. It is especially dangerous to rely on information from chat rooms, where people often share snippets of their experiences without knowing the full picture. The right approach is to use other stories as a guide, but to make decisions based on current requirements and your specific situation. Immigration has no universal solutions for everyone. It is a personal journey. Many people believe that the main goal is to obtain the necessary documents, but once you have them, life is just beginning. You need to adapt to the new system, open a bank account, get insurance, find a doctor, figure out transportation, school, work, taxes, utility bills, residency rules, cultural norms, and local bureaucracy. It's a mistake not to prepare for this in advance. Because of this, the first few months become chaotic. You don't know where to go, what deadlines to meet, which letters are important, and which ones can be put off. Good preparation includes not only entry documents, but also a plan for the first steps after arrival. What should you do in the first week? Where should you register? What documents do you need to file? What addresses and contacts should you save? What payments do you need to plan for? The clearer the first steps are, the smoother the adaptation process will be. Relocating to Europe is a serious step. It can open up new opportunities, but it requires preparation, attention to detail, and an understanding of the rules. The good news is that all these mistakes can be avoided. The key is not to act blindly, not to put off your preparations, and to have a clear plan in advance. If you're just planning to immigrate to the EU and want to understand whether you have a realistic basis for applying for citizenship, submit a request for a free consultation via the link in the description. We will review your situation, create a personalized immigration plan for you, and prepare a complete set of documents to successfully obtain citizenship in one of the EU countries. We work on a one-on-one basis, taking into account your goals, your lifestyle, and your specific circumstances. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in this topic, subscribe to our channel and feel free to ask questions in the comments. We'll regularly publish program reviews, answer frequently asked questions, and share important news about immigration law and life in the EU. Your journey to Europe begins with the first step. Mycitizenagency is here for you every step of the way.